Hi, and welcome to this tutorial for Elektronika. In this video, I'm going to be covering one of the less well-known but very powerful features of Elektronika, the built-in sequencer. And in the process, I'm going to clear up the confusion caused by the master record button. To show or hide the sequencer, either click on this button at the top of the main window, or simply click and drag its title bar up or down. The sequencer essentially allows you to record and play back module control changes so that they can be automated. In order to make use of the sequencer, the first thing you need to do is to add a module track. The way to do this is to right-click on a module and select Add Module Track. Notice that a track called Qt Player has been added to the sequencer. If you click on this box here, the controls which can be automated are displayed. There are three ways you can create control automations. The first is to manually draw a pattern. Select the control from the list in the sequencer or click directly on the control. Now click on this pen tool button and you can draw in automations. You can change the resolution of the pen tool by clicking on this drop down box here and selecting a different resolution. To erase an event, click on this eraser icon here. The erase tool can be a bit confusing to use. Essentially, it serves to join events. So clicking on an event does nothing. You need to click and drag over a point where there's a following event. This will cause the second event to merge with the first. Now, let's see the result of our automation by pressing the Master Play button. As you can see, this random rate control on the module is now being controlled by the pattern we created for it in the sequencer. Like with MIDI and keyboard mapping, the box is now drawn around the control to make it easy to identify. The second way to create automation data is to make changes directly to the controls in the module. Select the control to record by clicking on its name in the track list or by clicking on the control itself. Now, click on the record button for this track here to arm it for recording. Press the Master Play button and finally press the Master Record button. Now, as you make changes to the controls, these are recorded in the sequencer. Note that the recorded automation isn't affected by the selected resolution, and there's no way to quantize this recording. The third way of creating automation data is using a MIDI device. This could either be a physical MIDI device like a MIDI keyboard or controller, a software device like Virtual Keys or Mouse Keyboard, or fully fledged digital audio editing software such as Ableton or Reason. Make sure your device is selected in the Elektronika Project Properties dialog box, and then create the mapping as you normally would. Now, arm the control you want to record. And with the Master Play and Record buttons pressed, use a controller or software to create automations. Now that we've covered how to create automations, I'm going to move on to some of the other features of the sequencer. The sequencer is divided into four areas: the track list here on the left, the sequencer controls here at the top, the track controls here in the middle, and the track display and tools here at the bottom right. The track list contains the list of modules and tracks in the sequencer. Remember that you have to add a track to the sequencer for a module before you can create automations. So if you don't see the module you want to control in this list, right-click on it and select Add Module Track. Each module has a list of tracks which you can show or hide by clicking on this box here. The sequencer controls here at the top allow you to select from 4 banks of 8 patterns, giving you a total of 32 patterns. Each pattern contains independent tracks for every module. So if I select pattern 2 from bank A, you'll see that our automation data is no longer displayed. I can create new automation data here and then switch between the 2 patterns. Note that when changing bank, you also need to select a pattern. Pressing B won't automatically load pattern B1. The bank and pattern buttons are MIDI mappable, so once you've created some automations, you can switch between them using MIDI messages. To the right of the pattern selector is the time display. This first line displays the current time of playback in the pattern. The second line displays the length of the current pattern. You can increase or decrease the length of a pattern by 4 bars by pressing on these arrows here. And you can change the length of a pattern by 16 bars by pressing on these arrows on the right. This button allows you to switch between overdub and replace modes when recording. When using overdub, new recordings only replace existing events. When using replace, new input deletes existing events. This is a little tricky to put into words, so experiment with it a bit to better understand the effect that this has. The preset selector allows you to associate a preset with the currently selected pattern. Choose the preset by clicking and dragging on this number at the top. I've created a couple of simple presets, with these two buttons in the up position in the first preset, and down in the second. If I associate pattern A1 with preset number 0, and click Use. And then again, associate pattern A2 with preset number 1, and click Use. When I switch between patterns, the respective presets are loaded. If I unclick Use for one pattern, you'll see that when I next load that pattern, its preset is no longer automatically loaded with it. The track controls here in the middle allow you to mute, solo, and arm tracks for recording. Track names change color to reflect their state, so you can more easily identify them. The mute and solo controls can be applied to individual tracks or to modules as a whole. However, the recording control always applies to modules as a whole. So if, for example, you arm a track for recording, then all tracks for that module will be armed. If you then unarm any one of its tracks, all tracks for that module will be unarmed. This is important because you might have noticed that when I recorded the automation for the random rate control here, automation was also recorded for the timeline and other controls too. This won't become apparent until you stop the master record button. There are a couple of ways to deal with this. You can either delete the tracks for controls you don't want to record automations for before you start recording, or you can mute or delete the tracks you don't want automated after recording. It's probably better to do the former, as this helps to keep things tidier. Note that you can arm multiple modules for recording at once. You can also unmute and unsolo all tracks at once by right-clicking on the track list area. To reiterate, this record button on the sequencer track control panel only arms a track for recording. No recording takes place unless the master record button is also pressed. If I arm this track for recording and unpress the master record button and then make changes to this module control, nothing gets recorded. So this master record button was never intended as a way to record the video output of Elektronika, as most people initially assume. In order to record the output of Elektronika, you need to use other software such as Fraps or NVidia's ShadowPlay, or the earlier version 2.71 of Elektronika. I'll cover the different ways you can record the output of Elektronika in a future tutorial. You can rename a module by typing into this box here. However, it's not possible to rename tracks. When a module is selected, this box has a white outline, and when a track is selected, it doesn't. You can delete a module or track by clicking on this button with the cross here. If you delete a track, you can get it back by clicking on this Refresh Tracks button next to it. This last drop-down box allows you to select which module in the set will be controlled by this track. So if I add a second Qt player, I can now select it from this drop-down box, and the track will control it rather than the original module. Likewise, you can use multiple module tracks to control one module. I'm going to delete the second Qt player, and right-click on the original one again and select Add Module Track. Notice that a second track has now been added for this module. To be clear, this is the track's name, and this determines which module it controls. You can find the name of a module by switching to the MIDI keyboard mapping view, and then clicking on any of its controls. The internal name of the module is displayed here at the top left. This magnifying glass icon here allows you to zoom in and out of the track view. Left-click to zoom in, and right-click to zoom out. This hand button allows you to scroll left and right when zoomed in. You might remember from the first keyboard and MIDI mapping tutorial that some module controls have several mappable parameters. For example, the timeline on the Qt player here, which has one mappable point for in point, one for the out point, and one for the current time. You can select which of the parameters to edit by clicking on this drop-down box here in the track area. A couple of points in closing. First, returning to the transport or master control buttons here at the bottom left of the main window. The start button allows you to go back to the start of a pattern. This can be useful if you want to scratch a pattern. The forward, rewind, and end buttons don't currently appear to do anything, however. Secondly, note that deleting a module from your set doesn't automatically delete any tracks you created with it. You need to delete those separately by clicking on them in the sequencer and pressing the delete button. The sequencer is a very powerful way of automating module controls during a live set, and can really help to make your projects more visually complex. It's a great alternative or complement to external MIDI software or devices. Okay, that's all for this video. If you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more upcoming tutorials on Elektronika, and as usual, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below or in the Facebook user group. Thanks for watching.